Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody is well and staying inside and staying safe. Welcome back to our virtual classroom again. Last week we learned about volume. And once again, what is volume? So let me put it back on here. Volume is a measure of how much space an object takes up. The formula for the volume is the length times the width times the height, and that equals the volume. So today, we are going to continue with volume. And while we continue with volume, we're going to do another activity. So as we get into the lesson, let's review how to find the volume. Let's go ahead and look at this rectangular prism. Now, once again, this rectangular prism, as you see, add a little bit more blocks to our rectangular prism. Let's take another good look at it so everybody can see the actual size of it. Once again, each one of these blocks is 1 inch on all corners. Let me tighten it up, make sure it's all together. Okay, good. So let's figure out what is the volume. And let's go back to our chart again. This is the length, the width, the height, and then the volume. So we're going to record it. So before I write, when you look at this rectangular prism, what do you think is the volume? Okay, so once again, this is the length, this is our width, and going up and down, this is our height, or how tall our rectangular prism is. So let's look at the length. The length is the longest part of the object. So once again, each of these are 1 inch on all edges. So let's find the length of this rectangular prism. This is 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. So this is 4 inches long. So let's go ahead and write 4. Now, what is the width of our rectangular prism? Is 1 inch on each corner on each edge of the block. So this is 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches. So let's go ahead and write 3 inches. Now let's find the height. And remember, our height from here is 1 inch, 2 inch. So 2 inches. So let's write down 2 inches. So the size of our rectangular prism is 4 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 2 inches high, or 2 inches tall. Look and tell me, what is the volume? And how do we find the volume? What is our formula? The length times the width times the height, and that tells you the volume. And once again, this formula is only good if you are measuring a rectangular prism or a cube. If you're doing any other type of object, it won't work. It has to be a rectangular prism or a cube. So this time I'm going to use pencils. 4 times 3 times 2. 4 times 3 times 2. 4 times 3 equals 12. 12 times 2 equals, get my marker, 14, I'm sorry. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 20. That looks messed up, so let's erase that. 24. 24 what? Since we are measuring the volume of an object, anytime we're measuring the volume, we are going to say cubic. So since we're measuring inches, this measures 24 cubic inches. We'll put the 3 behind the inches to let us know that we're measuring by volume. So this is 24 cubic inches. So 4 times 3 times 2 equals 24 cubic inches. Okay, now, give me 1 minute, because now we're going to do something else with our rectangular prism today. So we're going to use this rectangular prism to answer this question. I want everybody to look at our problem of the day. How can we break this prism up so that we can see this box as being made up of two groups of 3 times 4 cubes? So look at this question very carefully. Give everybody a moment. So let's look at it again. How can we break this prism up so that we can see this box as being made up of two groups of 3 times 4 inch cube, 3 times 4 or 3 times 4 inch cubes? So let's look at this again. Think about the question. So it says, how can we break up this prism so that we can see this box as being made up of two groups of 3 times 4 cubes? Everybody take a good look. Think about that question. Think about what it means and think about what it's asking you to do. Okay, let's go back to the question again. And I'm going to go slow. How can we break this prism up so that we can see this box as being made up of two groups? Oh, wait a minute. So it wants us to take this rectangular prism and break it into two groups. Two groups of what? Two groups of 3 times 4 cubes. So it wants us to break this up into two groups of 3 times 4 cubes. So how am I going to break this rectangular prism up into 3 times 4 cubes? So pretty much what it wants us to do is want us to take this rectangular prism and we got to break it up into two groups. Two groups of what? Two groups of 3 times 4 cubes. Once again, what does 3 times 4 represent? So pretty much 3 times 4 is pretty much how many cubes have to be in each group. So once I break this prism up into two groups, each group has to have, that group has to show 3 times 4 cubes. So let's look at it. Matter of fact, when I look at the top of it, I notice something. 1, 2, 3 cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes. And then let's take another look at it. So I can break this up into two groups. Each group is going to have 1, 2, 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Matter of fact, give me 1 minute, because I am going to write this down. Give me a minute. So I'm going to put this beside. So two groups, 3 times 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you notice, there's 3 times 4 on the top, but notice something else. When I turn it over, it's also 1, 2, 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4 on top. So there's 3 times 4 on the top, 3 times 4 on the bottom. So we're going to do this. Matter of fact, let me find something to hold my camera up so everybody can hopefully see what I'm doing. Let's take this object. And how many groups we're going to break it up in? We're going to break it up into two groups. Okay. Now what do you see? One group, two groups. So there we go. We just broke it up into two groups, and look at what each group has. Now that I have broken it up, and once again, each group is broken up into 1, 2, 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4. So each group is broken up in 3 times 4. Now what I want to do is I want to write a formula. I want to write an equation, And I want to write an equation to represent what I just made here. And let's see, after I write my equation, will I still get the same volume? And once again, the volume of our rectangular prism was 24 cubic inches. So let's go ahead and make our equation. How long is it? What is the length? Let's look at this. Let's look at this one here. What is the length of this piece or part? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 inches long. So let's write 4. What is the width? 1, 2, 3. 4 times 3. This object is 4 times 3. So matter of fact, let me go ahead and, put these parentheses around it. So this object is 4 times 3. Now, here's my next question. Is this object 4 inches long times 3 inches wide also? It is. And how many of these objects do I have? 1, 2. Since I have 2 objects, so this shows each group has 4 times 3, and this 2 shows that we have 2 of these. So our equation is 4 times 3 times 2. What is 4 times 3 times 2? Oh, wait a minute. This sounds like something we did earlier. Let me get my pencil. 4 times 3. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and use my marker. 4 times 3 equals 12. What's 12 times 2? 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 equals 24. 24 what? Since we're measuring the volume, 24 cubic inches. Put the 3 behind it to let us know that this is cubic inches. So this is the equation for this. So, hold on. Whether I make this a whole rectangular prism or whether I divide it, split it up into 2 groups, it's still going to be 24 cubic inches when it's combined. So now let me put this back together, because before we go to part 2, I want you to look at this one more time. Now, you saw me split this rectangular prism into two different groups. What are some other ways you think I can split up this rectangular prism? I want you to take a good look at it. And when we come back, and we're going to, when we come back to part 2 of this video, we are going to find some other ways to split up this rectangular prism. Let's see if your ideas of breaking up this rectangular prism matches some of my ideas of breaking up this rectangular prism. So see you in part 2 of this video.